Welcome to Diaries of a Data Scientist, our podcast in which we share about what's important to break into data science, provide valuable insights also for senior data scientists, and invite interesting guests from different data science areas. We're 𝐤𝐮𝐫𝐞𝐧 and 𝐭𝐫𝐞𝐧. We're both data scientists and mentors working in industry, and we are sharing here our thoughts and experiences. Let's go.
So, hi everyone. This is Diaries of a Data Scientist, and today is March 3rd, and there is actually a reason behind why I'm telling the date. So for today, we have prepared for you a pretty interesting topic, which is very well connected to the March and to the International Women's Day, which will take place on March 8th. And for that reason, we're going to talk about women in AI, and primarily, I would say women in tech or / IT fields. And maybe, to start with, like to getting into this conversation, we have, let's say, a stereotype that the data science field is really male dominated. And perhaps the stereotype is not a really correct word, because this is the actual reality. This is not just a prejudice about a data science field. And maybe we can talk a little bit firstly about our experience. So how we felt ourselves being in the university, how it is our current positions at work, in order to have this little bit of the introduction to this topic.
Absolutely.
So maybe I will just start with the university, because I remember that I have 4 technical degrees. And for me, it was always a pretty interesting observation that the distribution of the genders in those technical fields, the males are definitely dominated, even in the universities. So I was maybe not the only one girl, but I was in 5-10% of the students being on that major. And it was really doesn't matter if it was computer science or mathematics or data science. Maybe for statistical part, it was a little bit different. I saw that in the statistical majors, the females, they maybe reach out to 30% of the students total number, but it was just the only one field. How was that for you? Did you have the same?
Yeah, pretty much the same experience. So I must say, since my bachelor studies was in the area of business information tech, which is roughly 50% also business and management topics, it was a little bit better in terms of women to men ratio. But definitely, if I remember correctly, we were maybe 1/3 of women in that class. But then turning into data science, you definitely felt the gap was increasing for the masters. I must say, in the master that I did at University of Mannheim, which is a great program, by the way, and it's fully English speaking, and that also obviously is attracting also a lot of international students. So I must say, from the international student side, I felt there's a way, say, more balanced ratio between international students identifying as male and females. And interestingly, this is also something that is reflected in a rather current study from DODS. So they provided this statistics. I found it via Franziska Hauck's Medium article. We're going to link it. She's a great person. She's really producing awesome content for diversity in tech and people-centered tech content. So please check her out. And that studies looked at the numbers of 2022 to 2023 students in Germany. And had several insights, which are, for example, the vast majority are identifying as male persons. And there's also quite a big chunk of international students in Germany, which I think is also known. And then that basically the balance between male and female among international students is way more balanced than by citizens here in Germany. So yeah, definitely can agree to that.
I remember my just days in applied statistics in the Trade University, And I think on applied statistics, I was at first like there were two girls on this major like me and another one, and then she decided to drop from the studies because she had an offer to start her data science position, and she flew back to the United States, and that I became pretty much the only one girl in the whole like kind of department at that sense. But definitely this is what I can see from the data science perspective. I mean, that in there I saw a little bit more females, and specifically I would say from the international perspective. So I saw a lot of girls from India, which is a very like known fact that Indian guys, they are really advanced in programming. So like, all the time when I see an like person from India, I have this prejudice that, okay, you must be a very good like at computer
more
science.
like a bias, right? You're kind of
It's
feeling
like a
biased
bias,
towards
yes.
that, yes.
And that is why
Interesting.
I can see why this is happening in the data science field. But it's actually a pretty nice statistic that you have just mentioned, because I remember we also were talking about a different source. I will also like link that in our show notes from 2018, that Germany only had back in the days 16.8% of women involved in the tech field.
Wow, that's
so it is
also like I'm just having the figures here on the side screen, and guys, it looks bad. I must say though, so while Europe is definitely like, not on the top places regarding the percentage of women joining in the tech field. If you look to some of the Eastern European countries, and just from my personal experience, I can say that already there you can see quite some interesting differences also culturally, how the field of technology is seen by women there. So we did a European master project during the master studies, where we, as University of Mannheim, joined the ranks with University of Cluj in Romania. So we had like a 6 months project, and we were a group of 5 students, 2 women students from Romania and 1 male student. And from university was me and another fellow male student. So it was like a very mixed group already, which was awesome. But also, I mean, this topic came up, especially since I remember that over the International Women's Day in 2019, we were actually visiting Cluj at the time, and also seeing this tradition that women are receiving presents on that day from men. Like even if me received some presents, even though we did not know each other that long at that time. And we just discussed a little bit about this topic of obviously as well, and they said that it's pretty much balanced, at least inclusion at university there. I would need to look up the most current statistics, and on that I can already come to another point, because honestly it's quite hard to find relevant statistics on this topic.
Maybe to add a little bit about the different countries. So the story about like the International Women's Day in Romania, you said, with the presence, is very much linked, for example, to the Russia, because in Russia, the International Women's Day is actually the official holiday. So nobody's working on that day, and every single woman is receiving a present. It doesn't matter, like from the man in the office, like in gyms, or like somewhere in the streets, just men just like go around, just like give you like one flower or something like that. Like specifically from your loved ones, definitely like from your sons and etc. And also it's pretty interesting in Russia, the technical field, because as we discussed with the Indian guys, they like were biased, saying that, oh, if you are from India, that you must be very, very proficient at programming. In Russia, we have a little bit different, that if you see a person like from Russia, we have a very strong mathematical field, and it's going to be biased toward mathematics. And that is why in Russia, it's pretty much really strange kind of term to have to split genders, because usually in Russia, the best mathematicians are females. And that is pretty interesting. Pretty much like when you go to the school, you would have a female tutor or like female lecturer. and so on and so forth. And that is why this term is a little bit also, I don't know how they are kind of dividing this term, like, and how they are doing the statistics. Maybe they are not including mathematics specifically into the like technical part, maybe just, computer science, engineering, but this is a little bit different in there.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting to hear. And I think often it is, from a historic standpoint, sometimes forgot that many of the advancements in math and thus also in computer science and nowadays data science were made by women. It's notoriously underrepresented by media and by press, right? Female contributions to science and to STEM, and
Definitely.
I can definitely recommend for everyone to look into this topic. You will be finding some crazy interesting stories about where women contributed to major technological and scientific advances.
I don't know if you can see this. I'm having goosebumps right now.
You're really having you're really having goosebumps right now.
Yes.
Oh my god.
All over my body. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Going from the university to our current positions. So how is that on your side? I know that you're the only one product owner, female product manager. Yes. How it feels?
Yeah, so maybe to say, not the only one, of course, in the whole department within BSF, but I'm the only product manager. So for us, it's actually more of a team lead position among the closer organization, which is the product family, so roughly 9 or 10 teams. And yes, there I am indeed the only one. I must say it never really bothered me. So for me, it was more like when I took up this position, I was more nervous about being actually the youngest one, honestly.
Okay.
Because I felt like, oh, maybe then the other colleagues wouldn't take my opinions or perspectives not as seriously or so. But this has never actually realized. I had to say, I also had to really go through a little bit of a learning process from my side.
Definitely.
To not hold back. In the beginning, I felt, and this was also reflected, like I was really holding back myself, right, with my opinions and perspectives, and sometimes also maybe like stepping down from an argument and not, going into it directly. And that really changed over time. And then a couple of months later already, I felt way more settled into the position. But I must say, so it never really bothered me. It was though a learning process to really stick to my authentic self and being unapologetically myself. And that also includes, the side of me saying, I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, so I'm going to talk about that I'm visiting her concert this year. And the other colleagues, they just have to live with that. And this is as valid as them talking about, I don't know, skiing or football clubs or whatever. Oh, cars, exactly. To be also like adding to the stereotypes here, which of course is not always the case. But so there was a little bit of learning process. But what I definitely can say is I've received very, very kind feedback from female colleagues saying that they really, really like to feel represented basically through me in the data and AI organization where I'm organized in BSF. And I also felt, and this is more of an empirical evidence based on my own experience and also comparing a little bit with other teams, I do feel I'm receiving more application from female candidates than compared for other teams with similar positions who have male managers. So, and this was already also reflected in some of the interviews, actually, that female candidates basically saying, oh, it's so nice to finally have a female hiring manager, and doing the interviews and having also a little bit more diverse interview panel.
Definitely. And I guess like you can just feel perhaps yourself a little bit more safe when you do have a female manager. It's just like one of the guesses that I'm thinking of. No, that's pretty cool, I would say. Because on my side, I must say that I kind of have the same feelings that you are, because I'm pretty much the only one data scientist, like female data scientist in the whole BSF&T department. So like we have, in total, we have, I guess, how much? 2,000 people. And data scientists, maybe, how many do we have data scientists? About maybe 10 or something about that. Maybe like a little bit, like maybe 10 to 20. And I'm the only one female data scientist. And that is what, when you just started talking about the fact that you were holding yourself back. Sometimes you were a little bit afraid to get into the discussion, to the argument, and to show your perspective. This is definitely what I felt in the very beginning as well. And maybe I must admit that perhaps I can feel a little bit of this kind of turbulence even right now. But I wanted actually to tell you the story what have happened to me when I've just like started my data science position in this department. So it was extremely funny, and I still remember this. So it was 1.5 years ago, I guess. So on my very first day, we had a guy that was leaving the position in the data department, and he was, I guess, going to Berlin, being in the BSF, but in Berlin. And by the end of the day, we started like hugging and stuff like that. And since I was new, I was like already a little bit feeling not okay hugging a different person. But I was like, okay, I'm going to hug you. That's not a problem. Just like, to be as everyone else sort of.
Yes.
And I was the last one hugging him. And this guy was from Brazil. This is a little bit of the culture awareness right now, because I didn't know about that. And the second that I started hugging him, he started kissing me.
Like on the cheek, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that was like, I'm just like looking at your face right now, and I love the reaction that I get from your side. Because every single time that I'm going to the office right now, which not happening very often, I would say, I'm remembering this situation. But I must say that the rest of the people, they took it, very like chilled. So nobody really looked at me at that very second, because it would have been even more dramatical for me, I would say.
It's exactly as you said, right? It's more of it's a culture thing, but I can definitely imagine, especially this happening on the very first day of work, like how this also made you feel a little bit uncomfortable, right? Honestly, and just being very, very much surprised by this action.
Yeah. And then I remember like one of the senior data scientists, he's like took me to the like room, closed the door, was like, what just have happened? We started laughing a lot.
Awesome. But one thing I can say, which I was very, very happy to hear about, right? So BSF's annual report just was published, I think, maybe 1 week back. And we, as many other companies, we have the goal to increase the percentage of women basically in all of positions, but also definitely in leadership position, because as we said, right, representation matters. And then also like the hope is, right, through having more women in leadership positions, this would also then make overall work in that fields more attractive, and would lead to more women also coming up bottom up. Yeah. And the goal would be to have at least 30% of women in leadership positions by 2030. And it seems like in 2023, we've already achieved roughly above 28%, I think 28.2%.
That's amazing.
Which is awesome. We have now 2024, so I'm pretty optimistic about this goal, but I'm also very much looking forward to surpassing the 30% range. But what, of course, you also have to say, this is an average. And as we all know, as data scientists, with averages, we can have outliers on both ends, right? So this could mean that in some areas, we also have already way more than 30% of women in leadership positions.
And in some
so classical fields are therefore like HR, marketing, and fields like these. But in other fields, definitely like in maybe the engineering focused, the technology and production focused ones, which is also a major part of BSF, we have definitely less than 28% right now. Yeah. And so also to say, right, this is not just a topic in computer science and data science, but I can tell you in engineering and manufacturing based programs and work positions, I think parts looking actually worse than in the computer science field. Yeah.
Well, and I guess this kind of proportions in genders on the leadership position, I guess it is pretty nice one, because as we've started with our university story, I think right now we can connect the dots that you cannot expect to have perhaps 50% between like females and males, due to the fact that we do have kind of the same distribution of genders in the universities on different measures. Do you understand what I mean? So if you would
Yeah,
have
of
37
course.
to
I mean, if only 30% of women are leaving the studies or graduating from computer science field, it's going to be very hard for companies to now
have like
suddenly
50-50,
stuff
yes.
50%. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is 100% why many of the initiatives and efforts actually need to start at an earlier stage, right? So that's why we have great initiatives like, you see, I'm already very, very energetic about this. So that's why
and
we
I'm having
need
goosebumps.
great initiatives like, for example, also the Girls' Day. I think it's happening on 25th of April. I'm personally also been contributing to that as part of BSF. And this is basically targeting, I think, girls between the ages of, if I'm not wrong, 10 to 18. So basically in school, and who maybe at some point start thinking about careers and like the future. And I think this is the best thing that you can do, because personally for me, seen into an IT company when I had my Girls' Day at around 16 or 17 years old, this was one of the shaping influences of why I've decided to ultimately go into this field. So for me, it definitely worked. And this is also the age where you can still influence also the number of women joining into university, right?
Yes,
so that's
definitely.
one part. But another aspect I definitely also wanted to mention in today's episode, bringing more women into tech positions, this is one thing. But being able to retain them in the technology sector is also very important, because there are some quite interesting, and sometimes to me it doesn't really reveal itself why that maybe is, but some studies show that basically at some point the numbers of women in technology are dropping again around the ages of 35 to 40, that they are dropping out of tech positions again. And one reason could be that maybe they find it hard to balance that with other I don't know,
responsibilities
life
that they
priorities
have.
and responsibilities like family and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, that is honestly as important aspect, that we need to retain also women and not just young women in these positions.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I thought prior you said at the age of 35 to 40 years old, I thought it's because it is also like a big issue, you know, to create this comfortable atmosphere in the department where females will feel welcomed, you know, because like it's also a pretty hard task, and also to organize the whole HR process, the interviewing process. I thought that it's maybe connected with this part, but after what you just said, a little bit
It could
different.
be, as mentioned. So I need to look into this a little bit more intensively. But also sometimes it's not really easy to get down to these root causes, right? So
Yeah.
that's one part that is sometimes not really highlighted well in these studies. Another, but as you can say, it could also be that just with maturing age,
Yeah.
and not saying 35 is old or so, not at all,
Yes.
but
Yes.
basically just as you mature, you also maybe are becoming clearer about what you want and what you maybe don't want. And maybe especially, as you said, right, if companies are failing to create also the needed development options and the atmosphere and the culture as part of the organization that makes women feel as valued and as appreciated in their opinions and perspectives and everything, and also in terms of salary as their male
Yes.
counterparts, maybe then at some point women are just saying like,
Okay.
okay,
Yes.
you know
What
what,
am I doing that?
I'm too good for this. I'm
Yes.
gonna leave. And that's why it's such a big task for organizations to
Yeah.
look into
Sure.
this and to make sure that this is not happening.
Yeah. But I guess that we can foresee, or maybe not foresee, but see right now very nice trends toward these kind of directions that perhaps, like, you know, as again, maybe we are biased because we are in that community of women in the tech, right? But this is what I actually see, that we have more female speakers, that we have more female leaders. For example, the
Yeah, exactly. Internal conferences and summits.
yeah. So pretty much I see a lot of females speaking on this kind of conferences. And this is the feedback that I see also from males, especially like, you know, when they start joining BSF as data scientists, I'm usually the one who is showing that we have this one, we have that one, like, you know, like the whole data science community. And they are like, wow, we have a lot of women. This is what I got usually what I'm showing our summits and different conferences, which is pretty cool. And also what I love about Germany, maybe you can right now correct my words because I'm not really sure how to say it like correctly, that we have the equality kind of initiatives among the companies, right?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Gleichstellungsgesetze.
Yes, that's the word.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, it's a topic taken very, very seriously here in Germany. Also, if you're, for example, looking into field positions for professors at universities in the technology section, it's a very, very serious topic there to look into, and you have to get also a certain number of candidates who are female, who are applying, such that you're really taking this into consideration. You have to have certain balances in the committees, making decisions and things like that. And I think it's honestly, of course, it's not the nicest thing that we need to have these quotas. Nobody wants to have quotas.
Definitely.
But I think it's kind of also undeniable that we still need them. And of course, they're like a tooling. And ultimate goal is that we're normalizing women in tech when we don't need to talk about this anymore, right? But we're just not there. And until then, and this was also like an active feedback and comment section under our last post on this topic. Until then, we need also focused initiatives for women. And in other parts, it's okay maybe to say, we were trying to normalize it, and so we're just not trying to make this a big topic. But we also still need this very much focused initiatives, and we were also going to recommend some of the networking activities and mentorships for women later in the podcast today. And I think we still need it. And one thing that is definitely required to have successful like to come to a more balanced representation is allyship from everyone who's not identifying as females, right? Basically saying that we need also support from especially men to speak up and to contribute, and it's not a women's only thing to take care of balanced representation of genders.
Definitely. Just an off-top thing. So recently I was looking for different PhD positions and in the data science field in Germany. And I was really not surprised, but I had a very, very satisfying feeling that in the end of the application, they are saying that please, we really encourage females to go ahead and apply on that position because we have to, as you said, we have to normalize the representation of the genders being PhD candidates, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and there are a lot of other small measures that every organization can take to become more attractive and more open, and also to just say, okay, this is resonating better with women. And one of these small measures, for example, is really also checking job descriptions and writing job descriptions in a way that they are also using more attributes that are usually resonating better with females. Right, so that basically you're not putting together a plug and play your job descriptions from say traditionally male attributed character traits, but you're taking really into consideration that people are reading job descriptions differently, and if you don't find yourself in a job description, you're obviously unlikely to apply for the job. It's kind of common knowledge by now that already women are basically needing a way higher emotional match with the job description to then take the leap and actually apply. So that becomes even more serious there, right? That the job descriptions have to resonate with both genders, or with basically with a more diverse set of people.
Yeah, definitely, totally support it. And perhaps this is what is just one of the ideas that I have, as a starting point for HRs. Maybe they can use really ChatGPT in order to make it happen, or like at least to figure out what are the different styles to write those job description for different genders.
Yes, absolutely. And also, just to mention it at some point here in this in this episode, right? Today the focus is on women in data science, women in AI, due to also the International Women's Day. But we are also very, very much aware that there are further minorities in the field of tech, like people of color, that are even more
Yeah.
underrepresented in that field, right? And this is also a field where I personally see less activity, and that's why not just among this dimension, but I mean there's also other dimensions of diversity than just gender, to also
Yeah.
make that visible. And we're also talking about age, about basically like
Yeah.
where you're coming from, but also mostly about the way that you're thinking. So being maybe neurally atypical, and being open to also have positions that are resonating with these people
Yeah.
is very, very important. So just to also mention, gender is only
Yes.
one of the diversity dimensions.
Definitely. And I can totally support it because honestly, personally, I think that when you are working in a department and you see this kind of diversity, not only among the genders, but also among the ages, the countries represented, the cultures, this is insane. And this is honestly what I can really talk forever about, the power of diversity, because this is what I felt going through 4 technical degrees and right now working at BSF on the global level. That's such a power. And
That you really enjoy.
you really enjoy
Yeah.
that part, yes.
Yeah.
And you also, as a professional, you got a chance to just to see different approaches and how people are thinking differently. And sometimes, I don't know, like you can do any other Tuesday a cultural day or a country food day,
Yeah.
whatever you would love to. So it's really powerful,
Oh, we
and I
actually
really
have
like
that
enjoying.
in the hub in Madrid,
And
that we have these days where like people are bringing food from their countries that they're originating from, and it's awesome. And I would love to
it
be there
is.
for the day, but
I have the same
I
idea right now.
wasn't last year. But I'm a foodie, so I would love to taste all of the different food. Yes. Now let's maybe bring in a very big number of recommendations, and again, you will find
Yeah.
all of them in the show notes. But we can't wrap up this episode without leaving you some nice hints of where to start. So
Definitely.
as mentioned, and we very much are still in need of this, say, centered and focused initiatives. And in terms of communities, one like Career Network, or they're really producing great content, but they're really offering different kind of programs. It's a Femtech alumni. It's a great network, and it's basically targeting women that are interested in STEM and in STEM related careers, or like in Germany, I think it's not STEM, it's Mint. Mint, exactly. But it's basically the similar concept.
Yeah.
And then also Her Career, which is based in Munich. It's, I think, one of the biggest female career networks in Europe. Go check it out if you're interested into participating in such an activity. What else do
Yeah.
we have, Kate?
Yeah, that we have Women in AI and Robotics. So it's, if I'm not mistaken, this community started in Canada, and right now they are kind of worldwide. So they even do have
Cool.
their representatives in Germany, and I'm usually also one of the speakers on their events. They encourage females from the different how should I put this, from the different levels. So for example, they are doing events for high schools females, they are doing events for the first courses like of the bachelor programs in the universities. So pretty
Yeah.
much they try to cover every single level of like our life sort of, and make an event and encourage females to get into the tech positions, but not only like, you know, data science and AI, but also robotics. That is why it's called robotics. And you can like easily find them on LinkedIn. Then we have the second community, which is Women in AI. And I guess they are having currently 43,000 members in there. So it is a pretty wide community. You can also easily find them on LinkedIn in there. And honestly, like yesterday when I was preparing for this talk, I thought, okay, maybe we can find the best communities on LinkedIn there, but there are plenty of them. Like I cannot even count how many communities we have for females in tech. It's like over 20 pages on LinkedIn. So if you from different countries or like different cities and like you feel this necessity to being among other females in the tech field, please go ahead and check it out on LinkedIn. I'm sure that you
I'm
will
pretty
find
sure
something.
there's a local
Definitely.
and as we mentioned last time, if you don't find a local community, then maybe start considering getting together with like-minded people yourself and organizing that yourself. And it can start small, and you can just grow this organically over time, as you can
or
say,
you
right?
can join our community too, which is Diaries of a Data Scientist, and listen to us. So
exactly, and just let us know about your challenges, and so we can also take them up in more podcast episodes. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And also, if you're already working in a position in a company, or you're looking into changing maybe the positions in your company, I'm pretty sure that if you're working in a bigger organization, that you also have women networks in your organization. So at BSF, I can tell you, we have multiple of them for different domains, ranging from women in digital to women in business, women in research, women in production and technology, and so on. And then again, also local chapters, which are then spread per country. It's an amazing network, and for me, honestly, this was also one selling factor of why I've then also considered joining, because I feel that also shows that the organization is taking this topic seriously, and you have an immediate starting point for your network and career.
And also in this year, we're having a couple of interesting conferences, inclusive conferences, which is called Women in Data Science Worldwide Conference at Stanford Uni. So we were talking about that a couple of episodes ago. So please feel free to check the episode, which is like conferences you must visit, I guess, something like that in 2024. And the second one is Women in Data and AI. And I think it is going to be in Berlin in September 27th, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, please go ahead and check it out as well.
And just to also mention, Women in Data Science, this is one of the well-known really organization in that field. And just because I remember, they actually have the same goal as we at BSF of trying to bring 30% of women into leadership positions across data science by 2030. And that's just why I remembered, oh, right, I think they had the same kind of objective.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as you said, Kate, right, also support your kind of local contributors, support people on LinkedIn who are engaged in that field and who are trying to bring more diversity into tech. So also show them your support. Like, for example, great people, as I've mentioned, Franziska Hauck, or you can also support us here in the podcast. And we're always looking forward to your comment. And also on the mentorship side, you definitely find programs that are also fully focused on females. Use your preferred search engine to make a little bit of research there. Of course, you can also use great platforms like 𝐜𝐿, which are basically open for everyone. But if you are specifically looking into female-focused mentorships, there are also certain organizations out there who are doing this, and maybe also to do a little bit of advertisement in our own matters. Kate and me are also preparing something in the background where we will maybe open, say, exclusive mentoring positions with ourselves, and we will provide more info at the time when we're closer to that.
I just wanted to mention about why we're doing kind of this part, and this is the whole idea that we've started doing our podcast and starting doing our mentorships is the reason that Yasmin and I, we do have this amazing opportunity to see what is happening in the data science field among genders as well on the very global level, because we did recently statistics and we are represented in 31 countries together, which gives a lot of power and which gives, I think, us a lot of knowledge of what is happening in every single country sort of, and how we can contribute and help people to, avoid the same mistakes or just speed up their processes. And this is why there was the idea behind the podcast, behind the mentoring, behind everything that we're doing and how we contribute to the data science community. So yes, we are really excited to a little bit talk about our mentoring part.
Exactly. Walking the talk. So if you have the feeling there's something that is not right out there, make the first step yourself and try to contribute. And as you said, Kate,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. That's the main motivation why we're also spending time on this matters, why we are contributing to initiatives like the Girls' Day, why I'm personally visiting every year my former school, and with the hope to, engage and try to be a role model for also younger folks, and especially also younger girls who may consider joining that field but are not yet quite sure. So I love that. I hope everyone who's hearing this will also have a great Women's Day on 8th of March. Do check out there will be a lot of initiatives. And also what we can say, Kate and me are offering a kind of Ask Me Anything session on the evening of 8th of March. We're going to post more information also on our LinkedIn channel. So feel free to check that out if you're interested in joining into this session.
And there we will also provide a little bit of the, guidance for females, and also, when we were talking about this, I've visualized this event as a very safe place for girls to ask anything you're interested among like the techie field. So definitely feel free to do that, and we cannot wait to see you.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much for listening in. Leave us a comment, interact with our interaction tools, for example, on Spotify, and also leave a rating if you enjoy this podcast. We're enjoying it a lot from Kate's and my side, so we love to continue with that. But we also are really, really looking forward to your commitment and to your engagement with our networks. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This was Diaries of a Data Scientist by Yasmin and Kate. And if you enjoyed the episode, remember to check out our YouTube channel and our LinkedIn pages for more engaging content from the data science world. Thank you for today, and seeing you in the comments.